community.
Should it at least
safe.
be better regulated?
I think the more training we give to law enforcement, I do a lot of training. We have programs. There's a lot more training going on, and I think that's the number one thing that will help.
Should they know their rights before they agree to this? Like they're trying to do in Florida, should they have the right to consult a lawyer?
If that's the law of the land, then that's what we will do.
But do you feel, as a police officer, they should?
I believe in telling them the truth and letting them make their decision. If they want to talk to somebody, they can. But again, I only tell them, and everybody's saying, well, we tell them they can't talk to anybody. That was only after they've agreed to talk to me and work for me for their safety.
The term confidential informant, that's been around 100 years. And what it always meant was a civilian provides confidential information to the police, and then the police go do their job. And you have employees who are screened psychologically, who've gone through the police academy, who go to seminars like you put on and are certified and have policies and procedures that they're trained in. Those are vice undercover officers. And I just don't understand why we have to use civilians, people who are totally untrained, doing your job.
So, because these informants can get into places I can't get into. They can do things that I can't because of how secretive and how hard it is in the drug
But
trade.
these people have families. They're not disposable. They're not throwaways. They're human beings.
I have never wanted one of my informants
Does their
to be
life
hurt.
matter, Brian?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It does, and that's why I want to do everything as safe as possible. And that's why I sit down with my informants and say, you got to do A, B, C. You do what I tell you. This is the best and safest.
Doesn't always work that way. It doesn't always work that way.
That it may not. But
a lot of things come up that you don't expect, like in Rachel's case.
Thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of times. It works exactly how it's supposed to. And violent criminals are taken off the street.
Rachel wasn't a violent criminal.
But she
had an addiction problem. There's a difference.
An informant help us take violent criminals off the street.
Is there a difference between a person with an addiction problem and a criminal?
Yes, I think some of the things within Rachel's law that you have in Florida, I totally agree with. But I think that we need policies and training, and law enforcement needs to have all the tools that we can to do our job, to try to make our community as safe as possible, because that's every police officer, our number one goal, because we are also citizens. We have family. We want to make the area as safe as possible. And this is a tool we're allowed to use, an investigative tactic. And we want to do things as best as possible, and that's why we should be trained. And we need to do it, though, but it's beneficial.
Like Rachel and Andrew have been killed doing confidential informant work?
As you said before, I don't know those statistics.
Why? Why doesn't law enforcement keep those statistics?
I have never been asked that. That would be up to them. I can tell you, I've never had an informant hurt.
Well, and how long?
Over 26 years working narcotics. And even as a patrol officer, I worked informants. So we're talking over 35 years. These are tragic incidents, but they're rare.
Well, you took
thankfully.
2 violent criminals off the street, but he lost a daughter. In Andrew's case, a violent criminal killed him. We don't even know who it is yet. But is it really worth the risk? Whether, you know, maybe you get more arrests, and you get greater funding, but we're trading lives for
I'm not looking at
work.
it for the funding. I'm looking at what can I do to impact and take violent criminals off of it, so I don't have to watch that 2-year-old child that was shot by a drug dealer. I want to try to do what I can to make sure I can get him.
But you don't trade one life for another either, so.
I never sign up an informant saying, I don't care whether you get killed or not. We care. We want to do everything possible. That's why it's so important when I work with my informants to tell them, do exactly what we are dictating you to do. We will do things as safe as possible. And these people are also going back into the drug trade. That's where I want them to go back into, and dealing with people that they've dealt with, they know, within the area that they're already familiar with.
Is the point treatment, or is it to get more drugs off the street? Because that doesn't make a dent into getting drugs off the street, does it?
It's a multi-pronged
It doesn't make a
attack.
dent. Does it make a dent?
It's a multi-pronged. You got to have enforcement, you got to have treatment, you got to have prevention. You got to have all three. My career path as a law enforcement officer is going after the investigation and the arrests and taking them and making it that way. I have family members that are into prevention and treatment programs, and I think those are equally as important. It's everything. You can't go after this problem just looking at one avenue of it. But my avenue I've chosen, my career path, is going after the enforcement aspect. Others, thankfully, are very good at doing the prevention, and others are very good at doing the treatment. And we need all of those programs to work. But enforcement is one of the
I just wish it
avenues.
didn't involve our young people, but Brian, thank you so much.